Hi everyone. Hey, welcome on today's AMA on AI and agentic features for Windows 365. I'm Christian Brinkhoff. I'm your host today, and I'm joined by Sam. And we are really looking forward to see all your questions live and answer them here. And Sam, that opening sound was pretty cool, right? To get us into the mood. I love
Yeah,
it.
no, got me really fired up. I'm excited for this today.
Yeah, me too. And it's actually the first time we're doing this together, so I'm excited about that as well. So we kind of together are like part of a team that delivers AI-enabled cloud PCs and Windows 365 for agents or agentic AI features for Windows Cloud. So think about all the questions you have on these specific releases and maybe some things you want to see in the future. And I do see that we have a first question already in. So thanks for staying on top and on a Monday, being fresh and fire off some of these cool questions. So the question is: currently, AI-enabled cloud PCs require Windows 365 Enterprise 8-core. 32 gigs of RAM, 256 gigabyte licenses and higher. Do you have any plans to extend that offering to other licenses as well? So great question. So first of all, I want to kind of explain a little bit what AI-enabled cloud PCs are. So at Ignite last November, we released a bunch of new features for Windows 365. So you have probably seen some other technical takeoff sessions on Windows Cloud, Windows 365 releases, and for the Windows Cloud and AI value proposition, we released AI-enabled cloud PCs and Windows 365 for agents. So AI-enabled cloud PCs are a new category of cloud PCs that bring the best of Copilot Plus PC Windows AI features available from any device from the cloud with Windows 365, meaning that you can use improved search, so the semantic indexing AI file search experience directly inside a Windows 365 Enterprise license. And that's available in the Frontier program. So it's in preview. Frontier program is the AI preview program that's also being used by Copilot and other features out there. And you can use as well Click to Do, which is another feature where you can use inferencing to do screen capturing and export it directly into M365 Copilot to really infuse AI into the existing kind of Windows shell kind of experiences as part of Windows 11. So the question on, hey, do you have any plans to also support other licenses? So that's great feedback. And we got that feedback more from several other customers that are using for example, 4-core licenses, and what are you doing there in the future to make that happen? So we are currently investigating what the options could be and kind of really summarize all the feedback from customers and see if we can do that from a performance perspective, because normally these features are available on 8-core and higher, like licensed, let's say, hardware for physical PCs as well. So feedback is noted. No plans to release it right now, but we are investigating to see whether we can do this in the future. So thanks for that question. I see another question comes in already. What are the minimum specs to enable these AI features on cloud PCs? So I kind of like alluded to that in the previous question as well. So currently we require 8-core licenses and then 32 gigs of RAM and then 256 gigabyte of storage. However, we are currently working on supporting 128 gigabytes as well. So stay tuned on a release. We are currently validating all that work, but from 256, we will also support 128 gigabytes on the 8-core license, in the short-term, near-term future as well. So Sam, are you ready for your first question?
Yeah, first question. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so the question on Windows 365 for agents is, how does it differ to normal cloud PCs, whether it's like enterprise or frontline? So can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So, I mean, before we talk about how it differs, I think, it's important to give sort of a foundation of what Windows 365 for agents is. It's something, that people have been talking about. Our team has been hard at work, rolling out this new platform. But at a kind of foundational level, Windows 365 for agents is a cloud PC platform for agentic workers. The way you can think about it is that, everyone's been talking about agents. How do we get agents to complete real tasks and do real things? And at the end of the day, based on what's available today, agents are really limited based on what MCPs they have access to, what APIs they can call. And if they don't have access to those MCPs or APIs for, whatever reason of they don't exist, or it's a legacy Windows 32 app, there has to be some actual computer or cloud PC that these agents can use to bridge that gap. And so that's really what Windows 365 for Agents is. It's taking that Windows 365 Cloud PC offering and exposing that to agents and making it, API accessible via a set of MCP servers that we're releasing, as well as making it, secure and access conditionally allowed for those agents. And so what we're really, working towards here is how do we make these agents as powerful and as effective as, real people and real workers to get, the tasks they want to get done.
Yeah, that's really awesome, especially that Win32 layer interaction part, because many applications, for example, out there will not be touched or transformed to a modern application. They have been living there for like 20, 30 years. And what you're saying is that they can be automated with a computer using agent kind of model in between, right?
Totally. And there's so many scenarios where, an agent working in the cloud can go and get work done because they're using modern technology, they're using modern services, they're using these companies that have invested in these MCP servers. But there's a lot of, websites, Windows 32 apps where these just, don't exist for whatever reason. Or you're asking your agent to do more complex workflows that require maybe accessing these applications and these websites that do have MCP servers, but interacting with these other things that don't. And so it really kind of takes what an agent can do and sort of breaks the paradigm of requiring specific agent access. It's more about, anything that you can do on a computer, your agent can do as well. So it really, bridges the gap between, what's available today and what you want to go accomplish with your agent.
Yeah, that's really awesome, and it kind of alludes to the next question: how do agents use Windows 365 to perform the tasks on Windows? So, kind of what actually kind of happens? Like, what's the kind of end-to-end workflow compared to normal Windows behavior when an agent checks out a cloud PC? You kind of alluded to it, but maybe you can shed some light on how it kind of works from, hey, how does the KUA come in and how does the Windows 365 for Agent platform kind of come together as one?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So to kind of talk more about sort of the life cycle, and Christian used a term there, just make sure everyone's clear. KUA is this computer using agent. So you can think about, any agent can be a KUA, but not every KUA, is going to use this. But essentially what happens when the KUA goes to do this workflow is it'll get a task. It'll identify that it needs to use a computer in order to accomplish that task. And it'll call the APIs to actually get a cloud PC from the pool that was created for this agentic work in the Windows 365 for Agents cloud PC pool. It'll get that machine, it'll connect to that machine, and then it'll pass messages to that machine using a set of APIs that we're calling computer do. And these are really all of sort of the individual tasks that a user would want to take. So for example, we support, clicking, moving the mouse around, scrolling on a web page. And all of this is based on us actually, taking the image, passing that to the top level agent. So the agent can understand what's going on the computer and what sort of actions they want to take. So it's, a multi, step flow where agent is taking action, an image is being passed, that agent is getting an understanding of what's going on the screen. And ultimately, that cycle eventually leads to a successful output of, whatever task was needed with, all of the applications and browser access that's needed to accomplish that task as well.
Yeah, it's really amazing because it kind of, you can see that the mouse and keyboard clicks are kind of simulating natural human behavior as well, doing the kind of task. It's kind of, I don't know, if you think 20 years back in the Matrix Revolution, like it's kind of real right now, right?
Yeah, no, it's crazy to see it in action. And it's it feels like so, sci-fi and futuristic to be able to, give a complex task to an agent and have them go through this whole workflow to get the machine, to get the software they need to accomplish that task. as we talk about, this, agentic workers and really kind of delivering real value, this is the path that like we really need to go down in order to light those scenarios up and really deliver that value.
Yeah, especially with like the world changing to agentic AI, and maybe you can shed some light. And this is not a question, but I do feel that the audience probably would benefit from this. Like Windows 365 for agents, and then we have Agent 365, and kind of the concept of a digital worker, kind of a co worker that helps you to do the tasks for you. That's kind of exactly where this kind of value prop kicks in as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been a big push from Microsoft with this release of Agent 365 and the recent announcements. And for those who don't know, Microsoft just announced this Agent 365. It's really the control plane for agents is how it's being sort of positioned, where any agents that your enterprise tenant wants to leverage, this Agent 365 control plane becomes the place where you give access, where you manage the permissions, where you can approve instances, where you can see for each agent what they're accessing, what their metrics and stats and performance looks like inside of your organization. And within that Agent 365 governance layer, there's a set of tools that are exposed. There's a set of tools for accessing Word documents, for accessing Excel documents, for PowerPoint, for SharePoint. And on top of that, Windows 365 for agents fits in as an available tool as well. So if you have an agent that's, interacting with Word docs, interacting with Excel docs, and it, hits a task where those MCP servers and those APIs aren't going to work, it can go and check out a Cloud PC to seamlessly get done the task that you want to get done. It's not about necessarily, what is supported. It's about for everything else, Windows 365 for agents creates a functional unlock where you can get anything you want to done, regardless of what MCP servers are available through Windows 365 or through Agent 365 there.
Yeah, you can see the passion flowing through, like the way how you explain it as well. So I love this, and it's really the revolution of like the computer, like pretty much that has been the same for like 30, 40 years. That has been announced like 40 years ago, 10 years later, after Microsoft got created, because in the first place it was of course not like graphical user interface, and now we kind of step away from graphical user interfaces and kind of make it more like agentic AI prompt based, but then on the back, it still simulates kind of the way how it used to work, but then at least you don't have to be kind of in front of the screen anymore. So it's really nice.
Yeah. No, totally. And, like as a user of this as well, like I'm super excited because I'm seeing all these things that I do on a daily basis that, just take up time, one thing we've been messing around with and seeing kind of great value is, filing expense reports where like, I hate filing expense reports. It takes time. I have to go through all the files. And we now have an agent that I can go and, put in all the information I need. And I don't have to worry about what it has access to in terms of, MCP servers. I can just understand that it's going to get it done and it's going to access the tools it needs to accomplish the task. And it's, saving me tons of time on this menial task that, I need to get it done, but I don't really need to invest my time on a daily basis to do that. So there's, huge value add already that we're seeing. And I mean, we're excited to, continue to scale it out and continue to onboard partners and really make this kind of vision a reality for all the agent users.
Yeah, I know. I love that. And it's kind of going from the be more productive with less tools and things to do, like unify the way how you interact with like a Copilot UI or some partner solution we have that has their own agent that kind of injects and fuses into Windows 365 for agents. And it kind of brings me to the next question here. What are the reports available to monitor like the performance of agent activity and such? Like, can you shed some light on that? I know we are kind of in the midst of designing some of that work as well, but can you shed some light on how Intune and things like that come together as part of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So Windows 365 for agents is built sort of directly into the tools that Windows 365 kind of knows and is familiar with. So all of the Cloud PC pools are managed through Intune. All of the user identity is managed through Entra, and then all of the governance and security is through Defender and Purview. So you really get kind of these enterprise grade tools that you're familiar with applied to these agentic scenarios. And instead of seeing, a user ID there, you'd see an agent ID. And there's a whole concept of how that fits in. That kind of gives you an overview of, how the cloud PCs are performing, where the users are accessing things, and then, how the security and governance works. But if you want to talk more about sort of how the agent is actually performing and what that usage looks like, that's where we rely on Agent 365 and that sort of control plane layer. And Agent 365 is building out, a whole new set of experiences in the Microsoft account tool, to really allow for understanding across your entire enterprise tenant, what does usage look like? How many agents are available? What agents are available? What tools they're touching? So it's really, super transparent and takes kind of this what could be a really complex problem of, all these agents running around and doing, who knows what, and makes it concrete and makes it understandable for the IT admin to really be able to feel comfortable having all these agents deployed in their tenant.
Yeah, to really meet kind of where customers are, as well as with the Agent 365 offering to kind of unify that monitoring experience. And I think the future holds kind of what that experience looks like, as well as we are learning from customers as we speak, and then adapt from that and then change the UI and the capabilities as well based on the needs of the customer. So I think the answer you give right now is kind of currently the focus, but as we go, we will, based on customer kind of feedback and demand, we will change and make it as adaptive and customer friendly as we normally do with other products as well.
Absolutely. And to say that, we're at the beginning of sort of the start line for all of this, agentic revolution and agentic work is an understatement. Like, our team is continuously learning every day as we, see new agents come online. We talk with more partners. And so, the more we can get people on board and the more feedback we can get, that'll massively influence kind of where we go with this and how we build it out to be as, easy to use and transparent as possible.
Yeah, I know. Awesome. And the next question kind of isn't an extension to that too. Like, the question is, how do I right size cloud PCs for AI workloads? And I can take that one, as it is a little universal against like the offerings we have. So for example, when we released Windows 365 back in 2021, the major kind of decision we made there when we designed the product was to bring the product inside the Intune admin center console. So right now you manage your cloud PCs exactly the same as your physical PCs. And that's great value, because that means with your Intune expertise, you can spin up, manage, maintain as well cloud PCs, which is a great value proposition. You don't need VDI expertise and all these things, which has been always a little bit of a barrier for certain teams and products, companies to adapt that kind of technology. While there is benefit, of course, for moving physical PCs to virtualization, but investing in that tag has been kind of a little bit that barrier, and that's something we solve with Windows 365. And then, of course, like enrolling that, it's very easy. You create a provisioning policy, and we host kind of the cloud PC for you as a SaaS offering. But it still requires you to kind of buy licenses up front for a certain amount of cores and RAM, just like you do with physical PCs too. So how do you kind of monitor that and right size kind of your cloud PC performance based on your user needs? Well, the huge benefit of having a cloud PC is that you can scale up and down based on your licenses. Normally, a physical PC, you need to buy another physical PC with more cores, and then you have two devices. And then, the other device you need to give away to somebody else, or it's just going kind of on the shelves. So cloud PCs are much more efficient to do so. And you can buy other licenses or step-up SKUs to kind of upgrade your 4-core to 8-core, 2-core to 4-core, and then just a reboot, and your settings and everything remain to be the same. So going back to the explicit question, we have in endpoint analytics, as well as in our own cloud PC dashboards in Intune. If you go to devices and then Windows 365, you can see all the cloud PCs. But if you go to like the reporting dashboard, you can see the cloud PC dashboards there as well. And we have a new feature called, or new, relatively new, it's like a year out there, like sizing recommendations. And that allows you to see, based on CPU and RAM spikes for a longer term, whether your license assigned to that user as part of the cloud PC is right-sized or underutilized. And you can kind of figure out there whether somebody needs an upgrade or maybe a downgrade as well. And then you can kind of optimize for the best performance, the Cloud PC allocation of the license, as well as the performance, as well as have visibility and how the Cloud PCs perform as part of that. And for AI-enabled Cloud PCs, we have a new dashboard in there where you can see as well whether the AI workloads are activated completely correctly, or whether they are activated from the policy, but there is Windows Update still waiting on kind of finding the latest bits and pieces as part of Windows 11 to land the Windows AI features correctly to enable them. So all kinds of dashboard capabilities that are available right now. One sneak peek, which I can kind of like allude to a little bit, is that we are revamping some of our monitoring capabilities as well, which is kind of really cool, which we are not allowed to talk about much right now, but there's more stuff in this space coming soon. So stay tuned and watch this space. Okay, another question for you, Sam. Like kind of a similar question, but I'm more in the context of Windows 365 for agents. So what are the minimum requirements for Windows 365 for agents? Like popping up the hood of the car, like, hey, what do we need there? Like kind of a question. What's the engine? Like that.
Yeah, it's a great question. So Windows 365 for agents is available today inside of Microsoft Copilot Studio for tenants that are, in the Frontier program. That's kind of like a no-code agent building experience where you can go and select to use a computer using agent, and it will handle, spinning up a Cloud PC and making that work for you. If you're interested in, having your own agents leveraging Windows 365 for agents, that's going to be tied into the Agent 365 offering. And where that's going to show up is the Agent 365 SDK, which releases this WorkIQ tools, is going to have inside of it a WorkIQ Windows 365 for agents MCP server that essentially allows those agents to access the get a session and do the computer work itself. For the actual kind of provisioning flows and creating those Cloud PC pools, that will all happen through Intune for accounts that have a valid Windows 365 for agents, subscription. Right now, none of this is kind of available broadly. The team is still, really trying to get things dialed in and making sure that we have the highest quality before we kind of roll it out more broadly. And so, we're kind of going to continually bring on additional partners over, the next few months. And there'll be additional information about, when it's available, how it's available, and what those kind of minimum requirements look like once we get a little bit more clarity on, how that all kind of fits together. So.
Yeah, exciting times, especially with the upcoming Agent 365 release, and of course the new E7 release. I'm always making the joke my phone number ends with 67, and even time I'm saying E7, I'm thinking about 67 as well. It's I don't know, that's never coming out of your brain probably if I'm saying that today. Kind of 3 minutes left here. I see one more question coming in. It's more about like the value of AI-enabled Cloud PCs. So acknowledgement, Windows 365 for agents is great with like the CUA workflow and API level, kind of avoiding that, making it agentic AI proof. But what is the value of AI-enabled Cloud PCs versus a traditional Cloud PC? And that's a great question. One of the things that we released as part of AI-enabled Cloud PCs is improved file search or improved search. And that's a semantic indexing kind of infuse AI into the file explorer experience, which allows you, based on your memory, to search faster for the files, whether it's a document or a picture, inside the file explorer in the taskbar of Windows 11. Meaning, whether you're like on a kind of a trip and you only remember that you were in a forest at a certain date, but the file name of that specific image isn't like the same. It's like, I don't know, image 1 or image 2018, blah. So you will never be able to search or remember the image file name. So you kind of search for a needle in a haystack a little bit. So with this, we kind of index based on what's exactly on the screen inside like a semantic indexing database kind of indexing file that we inference for you as part of what normally happens on an MPU, but now on a cloud MPU kind of equivalent with a platform we did, to make that available in a cloud PC, meaning that you can search for airplanes and then it pops up photos of an airplane. If you search for birds, it pops up photos of birds, even though the file is called completely different. So just an example. Then we have click to do, which allows you to capture the complete screen and then take kind of data out of like your applications or your browser or other things that you're doing, and then export that, summarize that, or create documents and things like that directly inside Word or in Copilot. And we are working on more extended actions. So think about potentially translating languages or text summarization actions as well, to be soon coming available. So we are kind of investigating that inside the Frontier program with our customers. What do you want to see next as part of features? And these are the ones that we currently have rated high to be kind of next as part of this roadmap. So keep them coming. I know we're at time. So Sam, was a pleasure to join the stage with you on a Monday morning here live from Redmond. So thanks everyone for joining. Hope to see you back next time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everyone.